South Africa has faced crimes that shook the country to its core. What makes them even more terrifying is that the men behind them lived among us, unnoticed until it was too late. These are the true stories of South Africa's most notorious men. We begin with a name marked by violence and betrayal, a man whose actions left a community in shock and grief. His name is Lazarus Lito Antonio, and his story is one of South Africa's most shocking crimes in recent years. Lazarus Lito Antonio was born in 1999 in the northwest province of South Africa. By his mid-20s, Antonio became a rising social media influencer with a growing presence. But beneath this carefully curated online image hid jealousy and violence that ended in murder. In the early 2000s, Antonio's path crossed with Kauhelo Marota, a young woman from Maubane village in Hammanskraal. Kauhelo was born on August 26, 2005. She was a bright and ambitious 20-year-old with dreams that extended far beyond her rural surroundings. The two entered into a romantic relationship, and what may have started as a typical young romance soon revealed itself to be something far more evil. As their relationship progressed, Antonio's behavior began to show disturbing patterns. Reports later revealed that he became increasingly controlling and possessive of Kauhelo. His jealousy manifested into threats and intimidation. The abuse escalated to the point where Kauhelo feared for her safety. Recognizing the very real danger she faced, she ended the relationship and took legal actions. Kauhelo obtained a protection order against Antonio, a court-mandated directive that prohibited him from coming near her or contacting her. His obsession with her intensified, even as she worked to move forward with her life. The evening of Wednesday, August 21, 2025, everything changed. Kauhelo was at a local tavern, a common gathering place where community members came together to socialize and unwind. Despite the protection order that was legally meant to keep him away from Kauhelo, Antonio tracked her down at the tavern. What happened next was an act of brutal, premeditated violence that would shock the community and the nation. Antonio confronted Kauhelo at the tavern. An argument ensued. Then, armed with a sharp object, he launched a vicious attack. He attacked Kauhelo multiple times. Fighting for her life, tried to run away from her attacker, but Antonio pursued her, continuing the assault. By the time emergency services arrived, it was too late. Kauhelo Nonu Marota lost her life. The attack was severe and brutal that there was no chance of survival. At just 20 years old, with her entire life ahead of her, Kauhelo's dreams were extinguished by the violent rage of a man who claimed to have once loved her. In a disturbing twist, Lazarus Antonio took to his social media platform after the attacks. In a chilling online confession, Antonio admitted to murdering Kauhelo. Rather than fleeing or showing remorse, he chose to broadcast his crime to his followers. Police acted swiftly in response to the murder. On August 22, 2025, just one day after Kauhelo's death, the Northwest South African Police Service arrested Lazarus Antonio in Carousel View, near Maubane village. The 26-year-old was taken into custody and formally charged with murder for Kauhelo's death and contravention of a protection order. Antonio appeared before the Temba Magistrates Court on August 25, 2025, 4 days after the murder. The matter was postponed to allow the state time to gather evidence and interview witnesses. Antonio remains in custody while the case proceeds. The state's evidence includes eyewitness testimony, medical reports, a violated protection order, and his social media confession. If convicted, he faces the possibility of life imprisonment. The case of Lazarus Lito Antonio is more than a single crime. It reflects South Africa's ongoing crisis of gender-based violence and femicide. Kauhelo's family is calling for justice, accountability, and real change so her death is not in vain. Our next deadliest man walked among us unnoticed, a customer service agent with a life that seemed normal and respectable. But behind the calm, a storm was quietly building. His name is Mafanai Kune. Mafanai Kune was a 37-year-old call center manager living in Amautana, Inanda, a township south of Durban known for its high rates of violent crime. By 2024, Kune had established himself in a position of authority, managing a team of customer service agents at a Durban call center. But beneath this veneer of respectability, Kune harbored darker impulses that would ultimately destroy lives, including his own future. A young woman called Ayabonga Mjilo came into Kunene's life through work. She was a bright 23-year-old from KwaZulu-Natal, a recent graduate of Durban University of Technology with a degree in public relations and communications. When she joined the call center where Kune worked as a manager, she became one of his subordinates. The professional relationship between manager and employee should have remained exactly that, professional. But Kune appears to have developed an interest in Ayabonga that went beyond the workplace. On the evening of December 24, 2024, heading into Christmas Day, Ayabonga finished her shift and decided to celebrate the holiday at Capello nightclub in Mpumalanga with friends. It was meant to be a joyful occasion, young people unwinding during the festive season, celebrating Christmas, enjoying their youth. Mafanai Kune was also at the nightclub that evening. In the early hours of Christmas morning, CCTV footage captured Ayabonga Mjilo leaving Capello nightclub with Mafanai Kune. Kune invited Ayabonga back to his home in Inanda. She accepted. It was a decision that would cost her her life. According to police investigations, an argument broke out between Kune and Ayabonga. In a fit of rage, Mafanai Kune strangled Ayabonga Mjilo that led to her losing her life. The 23-year-old woman, who should have been celebrating Christmas with her family, instead fought for her life in the home of a man she had trusted. The autopsy would later confirm that she died from strangulation, with evidence of a violent struggle, but no signs of sexual assault. He hid Ayabonga's body just meters from his home. By December 26th, Ayabonga's family reported her missing to the Greenwood Park Police, and an investigation was launched. Detectives reviewed CCTV footage from Capello nightclub and made a crucial discovery. The last person seen with Ayabonga was Mafanai Kune, her manager from work. He had been captured on camera leaving with her in his silver vehicle. Following this lead and acting on a tip-off, police raided Kunene's property in Inanda on December 30th, 2024. There, in his backyard, they made the shocking discovery. Ayabonga's body was found. Due to the time that had passed and the poor conditions of the burial, Ayabonga was nearly unrecognizable. DNA confirmation was required to officially identify her. Mafanai Kune was arrested almost immediately after Ayabonga's body was discovered. He was charged with murder, kidnapping, and defeating the ends of justice. Kune made his first court appearance at the Durban Magistrates Court on January 6, 2025. When he appeared before the magistrate, observers noted that he bore visible injuries, a swollen face and a noticeable limp, suggesting he may have been assaulted either by other inmates or in the community before his arrest. During this hearing, prosecutors detailed how Kune had allegedly lured Ayabonga under false pretenses, possibly exploiting their professional history and the trust she placed in him as her manager. The case was postponed to February 26, 2025, to allow for further investigation. As of early 2025, the case against Mafanai Kune remains ongoing. The matter has been postponed multiple times as prosecutors build their case and gather additional evidence. Kune remains in custody, and Ayabonga's family continues to seek justice for their daughter. Ayabonga Mjilo should be alive today. She should have celebrated Christmas 2024 with her family. She should be pursuing her career in communications and public relations. As the legal proceedings continue and South Africa waits for justice in this case, Ayabonga's story serves as yet another tragic reminder of the crisis of gender-based violence facing the nation. Our next deadliest man was a post office employee, a name that would soon become infamous across South Africa. Trusted by many, yet his actions would shock the nation and leave a community in grief. His name is Luanda Botha. Luanda Botha was born in 16th May 1977 in Cape Town, South Africa. Botha was a 42 years old, working as a temporary employee at the Claringe Post Office in Claremont, a quiet Cape Town suburb near the University of Cape Town. The morning of Saturday, August 24, 2019, 19-year-old Uyinene Muktiana, known as Nene to those who loved her, came to the Claringe post office to collect a parcel. She was a first-year film and media student at the nearby University of Cape Town, vibrant and full of dreams about becoming a journalist. When Uyinene arrived at the post office, she found Botha there. He told her that her parcel was not ready and instructed her to return later in the afternoon. This moment reveals Botha's calculated nature. He didn't attack her when she first arrived. He sent her away and waited, knowing she would come back, knowing he would be alone when she did. Later that afternoon, Uyinene returned to the Claringe post office as Botha had instructed. The building was quiet. The other staff members had left. There were no other customers. What happened next inside that government building is almost unspeakable in its brutality. He attempted to sexually assault her inside the building, and when she firmly resisted and refused, he reacted with anger. Botha then picked up a scale weight, an ordinary piece of post office equipment that became a murder weapon in his hands. The young woman who had walked into the post office full of life, who had dreams and plans, and people who loved her, lost her life in a prolonged attack. She was 19 years old. He hid Uyinene's body in the post office overnight. The next day, Sunday, August 25th, Botha returned to the scene of his crime and retrieved Uyinene's body from where he had hidden it and loaded it into the vehicle. Botha drove to west in Khayelitsha, a township outside Cape Town. There, in a field away from witnesses, he attempted to destroy the evidence of his crime from any forensic evidence that might connect him to the murder. Meanwhile, Uyinene's absence was causing alarm. What began as private worry quickly escalated into public panic. Social media exploded with posts and shares under the hashtag #BringNene University students organized search parties, hoping that she would be found alive. The South African Police Service launched an investigation. They traced Uyinene's last known movements and quickly focused on the Claringe post office. As the investigation intensified, evidence began to point directly to Luanda Botha. On August 29, 2019, police made the devastating discovery. They found Uyinene's body in Khayelitsha. The worst fears of her family and friends were confirmed. Nene was murdered. Luanda Botha was arrested, taken into custody. Realizing that the evidence against him was overwhelming, he confessed to the crimes against Uyinene Muktiana almost immediately. His confession was detailed and shocking. News of Uyinene's murder and the identity of her killer sent shockwaves through South Africa. Uyinene's death became more than one family's tragedy. It became a national moment of reckoning. Women across South Africa saw themselves in her story. Protests erupted across the country. Women wore black and marched through the streets. Her university students wore black in her memory and created an emotional song to honor her, bringing attention to the problem of gender-based violence and the need to protect women. Even President Cyril Ramaphosa was forced to address the nation about Uyinene's case, calling the violence against women a war being waged against the women of our country. Luanda Botha made his first court appearance shortly after his arrest at the Wynberg Magistrates Court. In a surprising turn, Botha pleaded guilty to all charges. His guilty plea meant there would be no lengthy trial. On November 15, 2019, less than 3 months after Uyinene's murder, Luanda Botha returned to court for sentencing. The judge sentenced Luanda Botha to 3 life sentences. Additionally, he received 5 years for the theft of Uyinene's belongings. The life sentences were to run concurrently, meaning Botha would serve them at the same time rather than consecutively. He took from the world a bright, ambitious young woman who wanted to tell stories and make a difference. The case of Uyinene Muktiana had a big impact in South Africa. It brought attention to the problem of gender-based violence and showed the need to keep women safe and prevent these crimes. These men brought fear, pain, and heartbreak in their wake, proof that danger can lurk where we least expect it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next.